Well, hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of More Than Chaos. And we're doing something a little different, a little special this year where we're doing a set of episodes for going back to school. So we have one where we're talking about nutrition, try to encourage parents on how they can better help their junior hires with more energy, more focus throughout the day. We got one we're going to be talking about community and the need for that heading into the school year. And then today we're talking to Isaac, and we're going to talk about FCA a little bit. So welcome, Isaac, to More Than Chaos podcast.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Matt. This is my first podcast ever, so this will be fun.
Mine too. So tell us a little bit about you and your family and kind of how you got into this.
So my name's Isaac Steidinger. I was an educator for 9 years. So I was actually a high school PE teacher, driver's ed teacher, basketball coach. The last 5 years that I was in education, I was an assistant principal and athletic director. And over the course of those 5 years, I would say that God started to peel some layers back in my life and in my heart, and some things changed for our family. I love the Billy Graham quote that says that a coach will impact more people in one season than most people will in a lifetime. And so I believe that I had been called to be one of those coaches at one point in my life. And then as I became an athletic director, I just saw the ability and the opportunity to be able to impact more coaches who would then impact more kids. And really, like, I got to a point within those 5 years where God just started to say, hey, this isn't discipleship. And really just started to, I wanted to have deeper conversations with coaches, right? I wanted to have conversations that led them to, hey, let's not just be a coach who's really successful. Let's be a coach who is having more of an impact beyond the game, right? Or beyond the X's and O's. And so really what FCA would call that is a 360 coach. And I didn't know it at the time, but that's kind of what God was leading me to. And so right around 2 years ago, took a leap of faith, resigned from an administrative job at a school nearby, and took this leap of faith into FCA because I had been impacted by it throughout my life. And so when I was a student in high school, I helped lead FCA at Prairie Central. In college, my wife, Brittany, was a college athlete, and so she went to the FCA huddle down at Columbia College in Columbia, Missouri. And so I got to participate in that way a little bit. And then once I got into teaching and coaching, I led student huddles, was a part of coaches' huddles, would go to the banquets and things and be a part of that. And really, so just a full circle moment of like being able to come on staff with FCA and now being able to minister to and lead coaches and athletes throughout 4 different counties. And so, like I said, my wife's name is Brittany. We have 2 daughters, Rowan and Sawyer, which is a huge part of our story. We've been married for almost 11 years. Rowan is just getting ready to turn 3 years old. And so just some trials and stuff that we went through early on in our marriage. We just both plugged into work, really. And then, like, as family comes along, just realizing, like, hey, God's given us this opportunity now to be parents, and we didn't want to miss it. And so stepping away from education and stepping into ministry and being able to do things a little bit different, also realizing that family is our number one ministry. So just have that opportunity to be with them more.
That's good. That's good. I appreciate you being able to share that, because I think that anytime you come into, people watching, listening don't know who we are. And so sometimes it's good just to share a story, but also to share about what we do. Tell us a little bit about FCA from the perspective of people that don't know much about FCA. Like, what is the mission, the vision? What are your hopes with that?
It's so interesting to me. I feel like, so FCA has been around for 70 years.
Okay.
And now it's like, it's a global organization. And sometimes when we think about Fellowship of Christian Athletes, we assume that people know about it, right? Like maybe your kid, they go to junior high right now, but maybe you have an older student who's in high school and they're like, oh yeah, my kid was a part of FCA at Normal Community. And we just assume that people know what that means. But the reality, so I've been on staff for 2 years now, or almost 2 years. And the reality is the awareness piece is still maybe missing a little bit. And so FCA is this global organization, has, just the faithfulness of the ministry over time. It is sustained. And I would say that it's actually getting ready to catapult into like the next 70 years, right? And what does that look like to be more like in the digital age and now as a global organization, we're in countries where, we never thought we would be before. And we just surpassed over 3,500 faithful ministers of the gospel that are now on staff. And so like FCA is growing, but the awareness piece of like, what does FCA actually do? It's like, we know we have huddles at schools, or we assume that, there's something going on, but what does it actually mean? Mm-hmm. So FCA's mission is to lead every coach and athlete into a growing relationship with Jesus Christ and his church. I love that part. I think we'll talk about that today, like, just that connection between FCA and the local church. And then also from a vision standpoint, like I was an athletic director for 8 years overall when I was in the public school system. And I believe that like athletics is the front porch to our school districts, right? Like we think about, why do people come to the school? It could be a choir concert, it could be a band concert, there's plays, musicals, things like that. But, the things that pop out in my mind is like schools get their identity from their football team, Friday Night Lights, or, the crosstown rivalries or things like that. And so FCA's vision is to see the influence of coaches and athletes, like, have that to see the world transformed by Jesus Christ through the influence of coaches and athletes. And so coaches have influence, athletes have influence. A lot of times kids tend to follow the athletes in the hallways or things like that. And so FCA sees that as an opportunity where, hey, if we can disciple that kid and he comes to faith in Christ, maybe he leads his friend to faith in Christ by bringing them to a huddle, or better yet, taking them to church on a Sunday if they're not already going to church. And so as a parachurch organization, FCA is like, hey, let's stand firm on the gospel, but let's utilize coaches and athletes and their influence to bring people into relationship with Jesus, number one, but then the local church, number two.
That's good. So tell me a little bit about what makes FCA different than like a church youth group. Like why should they double up?
Yeah, so for sure. I don't want to speak for like your youth group. Yeah. I haven't been to your youth group, but I think that FCA and youth groups are both discipleship ministries, right? So that's important to know. But I think that FCA we're that foot in the door to the local schools. And obviously, like you can build relationships with coaches or teachers, or you can find inroads to local schools, right? But as far as like Eastview starting a student group at Chittix Junior High or at, Hayworth Junior High, like Eastview's probably not going to start a student club or an organization at one of those schools, right?
Yeah.
FCA becomes that foot in the door to those schools. And so I think that it's important to have both, right? I think that, let's say that there's a kid that's going to Eastview Youth Group and they're like, man, how do I get plugged in at a local school? Like, how do I tell my friends about this? Well, maybe they go to FCA. Like, there's a student group. We have student huddles all over McLean County. Like, maybe there's a student group where they can go and they can be a part of. And maybe it's somebody that you're intentionally pouring into and you're discipling at church or at youth group. Now they become the evangelizer at the local school district where they're like, hey, now I'm going to go and I'm going to help lead FCA at my local school. And I'm going to invite my teammates in, right? And so now it becomes an opportunity where maybe they invite a teammate that doesn't go to church, right? And so now we're reaching the lost at school with the gospel in a smaller setting. And it is fellowship of Christian athletes. So a lot of times people assume like, well, I can't go if I'm not an athlete. And yeah. I would just say like, debunk that right away. Like that's a myth because we do recognize that FCA being one of those organizations that is allowed into the school district, if you will, that like we don't want it to be exclusive. What we do say is that, we are to and through the coach, right? So anytime you think about missions or you think about, people that are going out and maybe they're, going to the streets of New York and praying and sharing the gospel and things like that, like you have a mission and a vision. You want to start small, aim small, miss small, right? Mm-hmm. You start small. And then reach many beyond that. So like our foot in the door is through the relationship with a coach or through the relationship with an athlete, and probably not the kid that's in band or not the kid that's in choir. Doesn't mean that we wouldn't invite them in, but we're going to build a relationship with the coaches and athletes first. And so, I think it's this give and take, and it's a push and pull between youth groups and FCA groups. There's a lot of our school districts are meeting either every other week or maybe once a month, or there's a few of them that are meeting every week. And it's just an opportunity for more community engagement. The world of sports is crazy, right? Like if you're a parent right now, like you know that, you feel that it's chaotic, right? We need fellowship and we need community within that world of sports so that we don't feel like we're all of a sudden chasing after this idol and we're getting led out onto an island where it doesn't seem like there's any way back, right? Like FCA can be an opportunity where in the world of sports, we can infuse the gospel into everything that we're doing. And then again, to go back to the mission statement of his church and how that's so important when we get to FCA and, there's a kid or there's a coach who's leading and, doing things really well there, push them back to a church on Sunday or maybe a youth group on a Sunday night or a Wednesday night. It doesn't stay right there at the school. Push them back somewhere else in their local community where they can continue in their relationship then.
That's good. I would say, like, you're right. Parents, when it comes to sports, it's chaos, but it's bigger than sports too, right? Like, I think every parent that we're talking to today experiences some kind of chaos in their lives. So how do we, so like for us personally, like it is usually my son that would say to us like, hey, I've got FCA tomorrow. Because for us, it's chaos. We have it on our calendars. It's hard sometimes to look at the calendar, right? So how would you say parents should look at FCA when it comes to their own rhythms and their own life? Like, why should they make this a value in the midst of everything else that's happening?
Yeah. Well, I think it comes back to, so it's like fellowship of Christian athletes, right? Like fellowship being the first word. And I think fellowship and community is so important. There's going to be a lot of opportunities for kids to get involved in a lot of different things at schools, right? Like you think about it, whether it's sports, whether it is the fine arts, whether there's a lot of different opportunities, right? And I think that FCA, well, I know this part, excuse me, is that FCA is gospel-centered, and it is focused on the truth. And anything, I've got a few resources here today, like anything that we do should come back to the Bible. We don't want to deviate off and go into, we do some like character coaching and things like that with teams where it's like, if you go in with a football team, maybe you're not, speaking the gospel directly to the entire team. Maybe you're doing some character coaching, but specifically these huddles, like it is an opportunity for your son or your daughter to go to school and actually hear the truth of the gospel. And what a great opportunity to have that at school, right? And so our desire is that our FCA huddles would be on campus because that makes it easier for and more accessible for kids to get there, right? And then it creates this community, this fellowship of believers where at school, they're being pulled in a lot of different directions. They're being told a lot of different things are truth, right? And really what this comes back to is you and I both know and believe like what the truth is, right? Like we stand on the truth of God's word. The reality is that you get to a public school system and it may not be that same thing. And so knowing that like, hey, this is FCA statement of faith, this is what they believe, this is, everything comes back to the Bible. I would want my kid to be a part of that, right? To have that fellowship and to have that community that's centered around that. They're right at school.
That's good. And I mean, I know for us, we've seen a lot of non-church kids that are athletes go to these just to check them out because it has the tag athlete on it.
Yeah.
So I would say like, I know from my experience personally, like what I have seen it be as a resource to my son. And so I value it. I think it's great. I would say like, if you're a parent that's listening to this now, like find out when it is, find out where it is, put it on your calendar as a repeat and be active in helping your student to get there. Now it might be one of those things where like you are not driving it every week. Like maybe you get to a point where like us, it's my son that's saying, hey, I got to get to this, but at least encouraging them at first, take that step, get involved, especially like our incoming sixth graders, that have never, man, there's so much going on those first few weeks of school, like trying to figure out lockers, trying to figure out classes, trying to figure out all these things. Get involved in something that's going to help disciple them and encourage them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I love that for sure. And it's, I can't remember how you asked the question initially, but it was like, you almost can't afford not to be a part of it, right? Or at least maybe not FCA specifically, but you almost can't afford not to be a part of something that's Bible-based, right? Like if you're coming to church on Sundays, and maybe sending your kids to youth group on a Sunday or a Wednesday night, and maybe they've got a small group, something like that. But then, you just see school as an opportunity where it's like, hey, they're not going to do any of that. Man, it's a missed opportunity, right? So it's like you can't afford not to be a part of that. Like it would be, whether it's once a month or whether it's every other week, man, it's an opportunity for them to get involved. Like you said, those sixth graders that are coming in. When I was an assistant principal, like those are the babies of the junior high, right? That like, you just got to give them a little bit of extra love and a little bit of extra time in the hallways to figure out the lockers and things like that. Well, maybe they could find a friend at an FCA huddle that, is in 8th grade, and that becomes like their big buddy that's helping them out as they're transitioning into this new scary world of junior high, right? So great place to find community too, where more often than not, you're going to find somebody that has the same values as you. And that could be somebody that you want to have a relationship with.
Yeah, that's good. Well, community drives everything, especially in the life of a junior high kid. Like they want to feel loved, accepted, and they want to feel like they belong.
For sure.
So we here at ECU value you guys, love what you guys do. I know, like, I am all in with just excited for what you've got going on, and I know it impacts my kids. So I'm just grateful for that. I would say to you, parents, take time as school gets started. Look up like where your FCA is. Find out, put it on your calendar. Go to where can they find these resources at?
You could go to our local website. So North Central Illinois is all the way from LaSalle, Livingston, McLean, and DeWitt County. So if you're in any of those areas, I would be the guy that could help get you connected. You can just go to www.ncil.fca.org.
Okay.
I might have thrown an extra dot in there, but just look it up, North Central Illinois, FCA. That'll get you to our website. It'll get you in contact with us. I won't give out my phone number on the podcast, but I'll do email, isteidinger@fca.org. You can find it there. Just shoot me an email. And honestly, here's what I would say. As a nonprofit organization, as a parachurch organization, I would prefer that you contact me first so that I can get you these resources and you don't have to pay for them on your own.
Okay.
That's one of the things that we do a lot of fundraising for. So twice a year, we do really big fundraisers. We have a banquet in the spring. We have a golf outing in the fall. We try to raise some funds from that. It's how we bring in some of our revenue to be able to provide these resources. So it is possible that they could go to our FCA website and find the resources, or you could go to Kingdom Sports online and find some of these resources. But that's what we love to do. A part of our strategy is to engage, equip, and empower. And the equipping part of it is equipping them with God's word. And so if there's a way that we can get connected with a family or get connected with a coach and be able to provide these for them directly, would love to do that. But you can absolutely go to the website and find some links through there if you just prefer to do that on your own.
Yeah, that's great. Well, hey, thanks for being here, Isaac. I know you got a family and a life, and you have decided to come here for a little bit of time and spend with us. So thanks for encouraging me and our parents that are watching, listening in. And if you are watching, listening in, go ahead and share this. Share it with somebody that you know could benefit from the idea of going to an FCA, or even maybe somebody that you have talked to about FCA in the past and you know that it's valued, it's been valuable to them. So maybe they'd like to listen to this too and hear what's going on in North Central Illinois. So thanks a lot, Isaac, for being here. And we will see you on the next episode.